Science and Religion was the topic presented at Red River Unitarian Universalist Church on July 13, 2025, by the Reverend Dr. Mark Y.A. Davies. Welcome from Red River Unitarian Universalist. Thank you for joining us. The religion we practice in this church is centered in the here and now, rather than the hereafter. It is more of a thinking kind of religion than a believing kind. It is governed more by reason than by tradition, more concerned with the present than the past. It is concerned with getting the most out of life, with living wisely and well. A major aim for us is continually expanding our understanding of life and ourselves. This church is a community of people who share in the free and open search for a level of understanding that will enable us to be more fully and effectively alive. The church does not tell us what we must believe. It stimulates us to think. It supports us in our search. You are welcome to join us. Our centering value is love, with transformation, generosity, equity, interdependence, justice, and pluralism.
Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands, and minds, embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth. We light a fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice. We bring forth this day new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care, rising to the calls deep within us and all around us. May we respond today and always with courage and with love. At this time, we have an opportunity to light our candles of community. You can light a candle for a joy or concern, or simply to bring more light into our space.
Light of hope here shines upon ye.
Let's stand together in body or spirit for our chalice lighting, our spoken affirmation, and the lighting of the peace candle. Our chalice reminds us that the fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast, and our experience here is but a blip in the cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on this earth, that we live intently and deeply with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known. Let's join together in the spoken affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and freedom, and to help one another. We light this peace candle to remind us of all the places in the world where there is no peace. Join me in the words now on the screen. Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. May be seated. Our opening thought comes from one of my favorite philosophers of the 20th century, Alfred North Whitehead, from his book, Science and the Modern World. Whitehead writes, "When we consider what religion is for humankind and what science is, it is no exaggeration to say that the future course of history depends upon the decision of this generation as to the relations between them."
Knowledge, they say, drives wonder from the world. They say it's still, though all the dust's ablaze, with marvels at their feet, while Newton's laws foretell that knowledge one day shall be solved. We seem like children wandering by the shore, gathering pebbles colored by the wave, while the great sea of truth from sky to sky stretches before us, boundless, unexplored.
Our next reading comes from Sean B. Carroll from Endless Forms Most Beautiful, The New Science of Evo Devo. I believe that the teaching of evolution and science is best served by promoting the scientific method and scientific knowledge, and not by attacking religious views. The latter is a futile, counterproductive battle. However, I also believe, as many denominations have also concluded, that religion is better served by promoting and evolving its respective teachings and theologies, and not by attacking science, which is definitely a losing strategy. For a time of meditation this morning, we're going to be hearing the words of Judy Wells, O Divine Source of Love. Let's take a moment to make sure we're seated comfortably, feet on the ground, taking a deep breath in and out. Breathing in and out. O divine source of love, we thank you for the countless ways you make yourself known to us. O deep lap, we feel supported by your firm strength under us. Yielding yet solid, you are utterly reliable. You will never let us down. O all-embracing arms, you hold us warmly against your comforting self. In the rhythmic cycles of your body, we feel the steady heartbeat of everlasting life. O sweet breath, you lift our hair and caress our skin. Yours is the breath of kindness. You dry our tears. You whisper solace in the night. O beautiful, familiar face, your loveliness is constant though your expression changes with climate, age, and season. Were we to sleep for 1,000 years and awake in an unknown place, still we would know that we are at home in you. Thanks to you, divine source of comfort, of pleasure, of knowledge, and of peace, may we always remember with every breath and gesture that we are loved, we are loved, we are loved. next reading is from Albert Einstein, from the Source Living Philosophies. Einstein wrote, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. The one to whom the emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. Their eyes are closed. The insight into the mystery of life, coupled though it may be with fear, has also given rise to religion. To know what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, which our dull faculties can comprehend only in their most primitive forms. This knowledge, this feeling, is at the center of true religiousness." Yesterday was a big day in the Davies family. My dad turned 90 years old, and we celebrated in Lawton with him yesterday. And those of you may have heard about my dad a little bit from me already know that my dad loves learning as much as he possibly can about science, but especially science in general, but especially about the cosmos, especially about the universe. In fact, one of my memories as a child is being basically made to sit down and watch every episode of Cosmos by Carl Sagan with my dad. It's a good memory. So when my dad turned 90 yesterday, we decided, the family, to give him a book that had a lot of photos in it, but a lot of words as well. And that book was a book about the James Webb Telescope and how the telescope was built. It was an international effort, billions of dollars in the making, and the insights that telescope is giving us into the nature of the universe. And when we were there, I had him pose with his book, and he had a big smile on his face as he was holding his James Webb Telescope book and telling me that next time I come down to Lawton, we'll be able to discuss all the things he's learned from that book. Still learning. He's still learning. He's still asking questions at 90 years of age. And I've always been encouraged by his curiosity, even to this day. In fact, it was that intellectual curiosity, that interest in science that he passed on to me in many ways. He gave me my first telescope when I think I might have been 8 years old. That telescope is still standing, although it's not really able to be used anymore, but it's still standing in my study as a reminder of that relationship and that experience. He gave me my first microscope. He and my mom gave me a microscope. And then eventually I inherited my grandfather's microscope, who was a PhD, MD physiologist. They gave me my first chemistry set when I was very young. Never got really interested in chemistry, but I did enjoy finding out what was acidic, what was an acid, and what was a base. That was one of the things you could do with the first chemistry set that I had. But all of those experiences kind of piqued my curiosity about the world in which we live. I also remember as a young boy, my dad and I would sleep sometimes in the backyard on cots, because there's all sorts of critters in the grass. So we slept on cots without a tent and just would look up at the sky and talk about the stars in the sky and the planets and about the cosmos. And I remember from a young age asking some what seemed to be really serious questions about the nature of reality when I was a young boy. My dad had some of that same experience with his dad, who he mentioned to me yesterday. It's interesting, my dad was born July 12th, 1935. His dad was born July 12th, 1898, so they shared the same birthday. So we started talking about his dad a little bit yesterday at the birthday celebration. And his dad was fascinated with Sputnik. He said towards the end of his life, between 1957 and 1965, his dad would often go out at night and find where Sputnik was going across the night sky. And he was fascinated at what that meant for humanity and what that might mean for the future. Unfortunately, he didn't live much longer after that to see some of the amazing developments that we had in terms of understanding more about the universe. My dad became a Unitarian Universalist because it is a way of thinking and also being in the world that helped him have a religious perspective that accepted and celebrated our scientific understanding of the reality in which we live. He didn't see that in his religious upbringing as a boy and as a young person. And when he was in his master's program at the University of Wisconsin, he was introduced to Unitarian Universalism during that time. And it became his spiritual home because it was a place where science and religion were not at odds with one another. It was a place where mystery and awe was something that was celebrated. No definitive absolute answers had to be given in our understanding of our place within the world. It was a place where both heart and mind were embraced, where both religious insights and scientific knowledge can coexist. Those were many of the reasons why he found his home in Unitarian Universalism. If religion is something that we understand as pertaining to our ultimate concern, and by the way, there was a Christian theologian who made that case in the 20th century. His name was Paul Tillich, and he said religion is about our ultimate concern. So if religion is about our ultimate concern, there's no reason for religion and science to conflict. There's no reason for them to be at odds with one another. But tragically, and we see this all the time, religion often clings to anti-scientific perspectives that impede human progress, that make it difficult to address social and ecological challenges, and that hinder overall human flourishing. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Another problem we're seeing in relation to how religion relates to science is, of course, in the very obvious problem of Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is actively, in many ways, trying to kill the scientific enterprise, trying to kill knowledge in order to keep people from understanding and thinking critically about and responding in knowledgeable and effective ways to what's happening in the world around them. By killing knowledge, we talked about this a few weeks back, epistemicide, the killing of knowledge. By killing knowledge, Christian nationalists are more easily able to manipulate and control the minds and the actions of the masses and keep them ignorant about the origins and causes of the crises that we're facing, many of which are the result of the worldview of Christian nationalism itself. The current effort that we're seeing in our society today to pretend that things like climate change are not happening and to defund all research being done to understand and to address it is another example of the kind of killing of knowledge that we're witnessing today. But we're seeing this across the sciences. We're seeing this in other areas of research. The National Institutes of Health have been defunded in a significant way. So scientific medical research is not being done at the rate that it needs to be done today. The broader attacks that we see on public K through 12 education, on higher education, and on academic freedom are more general manifestations of this phenomenon of the killing of knowledge. An uneducated populace is more vulnerable to the autocratic control that Christian nationalists are creating as they destroy the systems of education that undergird a healthy democratic republic. Those of you who may live just across the Red River are seeing this daily coming from our superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma. Now, religion and science are not the same, but religion that ignores science or that is solely couched in anti or pre-scientific worldviews is less able, that kind of religion is less able to address the spiritual and moral challenges of our time. The world's religions, I believe, offer humanity significant wisdom. I know there are some folks that would say we'd just be better off if there were no religions at all. Let's get rid of all religions. And I understand where that's coming from. And sometimes when I sing the song that John Lennon wrote, imagine no religion, I see where people are coming from with that. But I do think that these world religions offer us significant wisdom, but we have to realize that most of them were created in a time in which humanity had very little understanding of our connection with the rest of life and our place in the universe as a whole. A religion that opens our hearts and our minds to a cosmos that's much larger, that's much grander, with at least billions of years of history, as opposed to simply thousands of years of history like the young creationists believe. That kind of worldview, a worldview that sees our home as being a galaxy of 200 billion stars in a universe that has somewhere between, and counting, between 2 trillion and 6 trillion galaxies. That kind of broader perspective provides us with a spiritual perspective that is much more awe-inspiring. It's much more humility-provoking than the earth-centered and human-centered worldviews of our past. But sometimes we don't see what religion can offer science. I think it's both ways. There could be a mutually helpful relationship between the two. Too often we have approached science as being value-free, simply a value-free enterprise. And the world which we investigate scientifically is not possessing any intrinsic value at all. It's just stuff. It's just matter in motion for us to manipulate and control. In this approach, the value of the world is equated to its usefulness. We focus on its instrumentality rather than seeing the world as having inherent worth. And this contributes to the reduction of the natural world to an object to be used, manipulated, commodified, and controlled, rather than being seen as a community of life, of which we are all a part. The religious impulse helps us see that community aspect of life as a whole. This objectification of nature might lead to some advances in scientific understanding and the development of many new technologies, but these scientific and technological advances are made at a significant moral cost. A moral cost which now threatens the very survival of humanity itself. We need science for greater understanding and knowledge, but we also need ethics and the intentional cultivation of wisdom to use science and to use technology in ways that will contribute to both human and other than human flourishing. Science helps us know things, but we also must learn to use that knowledge wisely for the good of all. Religious communities need to wrestle with the fact that when we tell people that they should believe things that contradict what we know about the world through science, that we are setting the stage for fewer people trusting science in relation to things that we really need science to address. Speaking to the choir on this one, I don't see that happening here in this congregation, but we know that there are many religious organizations, religious institutions that are trying to enforce beliefs and worldviews that contradict what we know about the world through science. And when that happens and people trust science less, when we really need to be using science to address those problems, things like pandemics can get worse. And things like the climate crisis can also get much worse, just as two examples. In a world that's full of fiercely urgent challenges that require science to understand them more fully and to address them more effectively, expressions of religion that require persons to believe in miracles that contradict science in order to be a member of that religious community, that kind of worldview contributes to the anti-scientific mindset that is so prevalent in what has become our post-truth society. And truth matters. Now, we may not ever completely understand the truth. We may not understand the truth in its totality, but trying to understand that which is true and that which is real and that which is factual, that matters to the well-being of our community life together. Before the scientific revolution and the development of the scientific method, it was understandable that the magical thinking and beliefs in miracles would be so intertwined with religion. We simply didn't know better. Now, however, and tragically, perpetuation of magical thinking about and the enforcement of belief in that magical thinking that we see in so many religions that contradict what we know about the world through science are keeping us from living fully in reality. It's not an accident that conspiracy theories spread more quickly in religious communities in our society than any other community. We've created, tragically, this atmosphere in which we're not living fully in reality, and that's keeping us from effectively engaging the very real and the very urgent challenges that we need a scientific understanding to address. An anti-science perspective is reinforced when we take religious mythology in a literal way. I love religious mythology. I've studied religious mythology all my adult life. And for example, as religious mythology, the Genesis story is amazing. I mean, it is one of the most poignant stories ever told in terms of reflecting on human nature and our relationship with one another. But if we take it as science, if we take it as history, we rob it of its core truth and diminish its power to challenge our lives in meaningful ways today. There's so much to learn from the wisdom expressed in the religious mythology of all the world's religions, but when we take this mythology literally, we often overlook the spiritual point as we cling to perspectives that contradict what we know about the world through science. For me, the religious aspect of life is about wonder. Maybe that was cultivated in me on that cot in my backyard, looking up at the stars with my dad. It's about awe. It's about respect. It's about love for all that is. And science is about knowledge and understanding that we are capable of having about all that is. The religious is primarily about cultivating wisdom and values and love, while the scientific focuses on cultivating our knowledge of the nature of the reality in which we live. Understood in this way, science and religion are not competing ways of seeing the world. They're both helpful contributions to the fullness of the human experience of relationship with all that is. May it be so. At this time, we have an opportunity for giving. You can give at the bowl, and also there are opportunities to give online.
Now my senses and hear the earth call, feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Before hearing our benediction, I want to share just some words as a closing thought. Our major world religions initially developed during a time in which our scientific knowledge of the universe was extremely limited. Our religious vision was limited by the smallness of our vision of the universe. We should not be afraid to embrace an evolution of our religious vision as our scientific understanding develops. As we gain more knowledge of the vastness and the complexity of the cosmos, it is not problematic, but rather a sign of open-mindedness and growth for our religious perspectives to embrace that knowledge and to be open to being changed by it. May our hearts and minds be open to the truth, wherever it may be found. Let's stand together in body or spirit for our benediction and the extinguishing of the chalices. Hear these words from Sam Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity, find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. Let's join together in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish these flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.